And so we made friends with this guy from Wales, this guy from New Zealand, and we were hiking part of the trail together. The journey of life is very similar to that, right? People come in and out of your life at different stages of the journey. Sometimes
Mhm.
people are in your life and they're the ones that are helping you like grow, and they're pushing you and they're encouraging you. And sometimes you're going to meet people and you're like, nice guy. Don't really jive, right? It's either you have the intentionality of, hey, no, I want to do life, this season of life with this person intentionally, kind of like what we're doing on this podcast. Like we've been friends for a long time, but we
Right.
decided to step up our intentionality of like keeping in this relationship. I don't know if it was Dr. Seuss or somebody. They said, don't be upset that it's over, but be glad that it happened, right? And so being able to like really embrace the moment and the time that you're with people in the time that you're with them, because it's all a gift, right? Like we
Right.
can't take any of it for granted. Cool. And we're live. Ray, how have you been? It's been a couple weeks since we got to hang out. Lots happened in the last couple weeks. So
Yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks. School's in the full swing. Um, we just got done with a week of football, football games too for both of my sons. So
nice.
yeah, it's been good. And along with school coming, there's a lot of trainings involved and, got to get your personal development days in and all that good stuff. So yeah, just
When did you guys start back? Because I don't think we start back here until today. I think today's day one of school in Oregon. Well, around here
yeah.
anyway.
Oh, yeah, you guys start way later
Late?
than we do. We need to get on Oregon time.
Yeah, no
Um,
kidding.
yeah, we started last Wednesday. So we basically trained on Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday we went right into it. We also had one thing too we had on Tuesday was like parents open house. Saw a lot of the kids come in and a
Oh,
lot of the
nice.
new kids, yeah, helping them out, coming in, right? Like everybody's going through these transitions as well. So it was actually really good to see a lot of the kids and a lot of the families and meet them and catch up with them briefly. A lot of kids, of course, they want to talk a lot more than than time is allotted at times. I think uh, I think just putting a smile on my face and being really glad to see him was good for not just for them but for myself as well. So it was good.
Nice. How's it been coaching too? Because you're coaching this year for first time, I guess, in official capacity at the high school, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a um, volunteering. I think that was a um, I think for me a natural choice for me. Again, I my perspective is always the coaching perspective. So when I can be a coach in something that I enjoy, something that actually has gotten me here to Montana and has given me a lot of opportunities in life. I think it's awesome. So when I was able to have the opportunity to coach for our high school here, I was just excited to do so. And an added bonus was, of course, my two sons are in high school now, and Um, yeah, it's really good, and not only my 2 sons, but I coached a lot of kids, as they grow up and within our community too, so seeing a lot of familiar faces that have grown, so, yeah, I mean, it's not only coaching sometimes, but it's also you're also with a bunch of, kids that you've just been a part of their lives and seeing them progress through the years and grow. And it's been really, really a blessing and a joy to do. And so, um, yeah, I think the coaching aspect has been really, really fun for me. Also just uh, it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of extra time that it I wouldn't say it consumes because I knew what I signed up to do. So, a lot of watching videos and,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and, scouring reports, uh, what I like about it though is I get to do it with my kids. My
Yeah.
son comes into my room while I'm watching or taking some notes, and he's like, "Dad, did you see this play? And what do you think I could have done better?" And I'm like, this is
Aw,
awesome. I like this.
that's super
And
cool.
yeah, and like he asks for perspective, right? So I think it's been going really good for me, and I look forward to a nice long successful season. I'm hoping. I mean, we have um, just great opportunity to be really a really solid program and a really good team this year, and I hope for years to come. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been good, man. Yeah,
Nice. That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's a lot about me, buddy. How about yourself, dude?
Dude.
You fill me in on how life's been for you. I know that
Yeah.
yeah, you've taken a trip here and did some
Yeah.
business here and there. So why don't you fill
It's
me
been
in on?
crazy. Like I was thinking, like we officially launched the podcast, meaning that it's out in the world and doing stuff. And funny, I got a call from a friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time, and he called me. He's like, "So, no," he texted me. He said, "So, I'm starting to listen to this podcast, and I got a question for the hosts." And he found the choice somehow, and he's been listening to it, and so he's like, "Well, it's like for whatever it's worth, I'm listening." So I was like, "Great, we have one listener, so that's good." So I thought that was pretty funny. Um, yeah, and then Peyton and I just got back from the our trip. And I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or not, but when he was 5, probably about 5. I told him, I said, "Okay, buddy, when you turn 12, I want to take you on a trip somewhere. Just me and you. We'll go on some cool adventure somewhere. So you just pick the spot. We'll get plane tickets, and we'll go figure it out, right?" And so he turned 12 in May this year, and said he wanted to go to Machu Picchu in Peru. I said, "Sign me up. That sounds like an adventure." So, but I told him, I said, "We can't do it the easy way. We got to do it the hard way. We can't just, take the train and the hors d'oeuvres and make it to Machu Picchu like everybody does. We need to hike up and over the mountain passes, and be more Incan." so, so we did that. It was really cool for a couple reasons, I guess. One of the reasons was that he's this 12-year-old kid, and nobody else is out there who's 12. I mean, he's like the stud, right? And everybody was commenting on that. I mean, he's talking about like, wow, like there was this one guy, he was Italian. We were hiking up this rock, and he laughed. He's like, "Man, very strong boy." He's like, "No, not a boy, a man." He's like, "If you can hike this, you're a man." And so, but it was neat, right? I mean, because we'd be in camps with different guys, and so we met people from, oh gosh, I think I wrote it down. It was like 18 countries or something, right? Israel and Germany and Spain and South Africa and Australia, New Zealand. I mean, like, right, it just goes on and on and on. And it was just cool, right? Because he was able to just be like, okay, like I'm in a company of adults. There's no other kids around, and so now I have to raise my game a little bit. But the thing that I thought was fascinating was that I really wanted it to be, for whatever reason, I had it in my head that this kind of like rite of passage thing, or even like when you and I went, even some of those car trips to Spokane and talking about experiential education and how it's one thing to like read about it, it's another thing to do it. It was just cool. For me, it was, as a dad, it was like, wow, it's cool. Like I'm fulfilling the dreams and the visions that I saw before my kids were born, right? But the other thing is like in this rite of passage thing, I was like, okay, this is going to be cool because it's Peyton's becoming a man. But I realized when he's 12, I'm like, oh, he's still very much a boy. And it was fun. Like on the plane, it's like, well, what do you want to watch? And you wanted to watch some cartoons, and he wanted to just play and be fun. And um, so it was really neat from that aspect, where it's like, okay, like I can really enjoy the boy in him, because he hasn't, fully transitioned into like wanting to be a man. But at the same time, there's some challenges out there, and we talked a lot because we're at 15,000 feet, a little over 15,000 feet at one time, and you get altitude sickness, and we're talking through it, and like the mental toughness that is required to just keep going. Yeah, there's a lot of really good conversations when it sucks, that you're talking through, and you're grinding it out. So I don't know, man. It was just I was really proud of him. It was really fun, and for me it was fun just because I love to explore. Never been to Peru before, and I like going to countries where like I really had to brush up on my Spanish. The first Uber ride, I'm like, oh no, I am really behind. But by the end of the week, our last taxi drive, I'm making jokes with the cab driver, and we're goofing off, and it just became, I was able to just like adapt and like pick the language back up, and so it was kind of neat. But so I had a couple big insights. I don't know if you want to hear them or not, but I had a
Of
couple that were.
course. Well, and
uh,
I'm actually impressed. I'm probably like that guy that was on the trip, right? Like, wow, 12 years old and you're just that where do you think that comes from? I'm curious, he could have picked anything. When I was 12, I would have been like, man, can we go to Disneyland or like Six Flags Magic Mountain? Like, um, but your son said like, you know, uh, a foreign land, right? Uh, where do you think that comes from?
I think that comes from me, because
Yeah.
I think I set the groundwork ever since he was 5. I was like, we're going somewhere in the world, you know, not the United States. Like, we're going to go experience a new place, a new culture, and have an adventure, you know. I think that, and because I love to travel, and it's crazy, like the amount of countries that my kids have been to, even at this point, When I told him that when he was 5, like it was in such a we were in such a bad place financially and relationally and everything else. There's no way I could have envisioned it actually happening, like really truly. Because I'm like, dude, I don't even have $20 to buy you a Christmas gift, let alone thousands of dollars to jump on a plane and go somewhere. So it was cool from that aspect too. But yeah, I think it's probably me. Where I was like, we can't just go to Disneyland. Like it has to be something. It's going to be epic, right? It's going to be something that's going to stretch us. It's going to make us better. Um, yeah, it was fun though. It was
You
fun.
do have that tendency, man. Like you were talking too briefly about our trips to, in the car and talking about experiential life and education. I remember you telling me about what do you call it? I think it was Corinth, maybe. Like you just
Mm,
started like
yeah,
describing how like there's it's this fortress on a hill, and I could see it. I know about it, but then how you described it, it made me think like, oh, I need to go there and actually see this place. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you said, it's one thing to see it at like in the books and read about it. Um, you know, it's another thing to read it in the Bible and then see it come to life and walk it. You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool that you've you know you've given him that that kind of hunger for adventure in life and life is a lot bigger than United States.
yeah.
There's a big world out there.
It's a big
So
world out there.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're right. I mean, the I think part of it too is, so here's kind of one of my big revelations as we're hiking. Had a lot of time to
Mm,
think, right?
mm,
Didn't have
um,
headphones in, hours and hours of walking,
yeah.
sweating, and um,
Altitude.
altitude. It's a real thing, man. It's a real thing. Unless some of you've experienced it, it's just like it doesn't matter how in shape you are. It's gonna get you. But
How
um,
do you do? I'm wondering that too when you were talking about how do you do?
you actually did pretty good. So flying into so the thing with altitude is that is just the change so fast. So I faux guided. I was a guide when I mountain guided a little bit when I was younger. Um, and we flew into Cusco, which is a little over 11,000 feet. So you go from sea level basically to 11,000 feet. That'll mess anybody up. Like that's just, your body's like, what is going on? And so you're lightheaded and you're a little dizzy, and you'll have a headache and you'll throw up probably. Um, and so we experienced all that. And we got altitude meds, just in case, to kind of help with that. But so we tried to like just tough it out. And the locals, they have it's like cocoa leaves, right? So actual like cocoa plants. So they take the leaves and turn them into a tea, and I guess it does help a little bit. However, it does like absorb the blood or whatever it does. Not enough. So the first night he's throwing up and has a nasty headache, and I'm monitoring him and stuff like that because it's not fun. So we were like, okay, well, we'll just take the altitude medication and we'll be okay. Yeah, so we're 11,000, and then we dropped down to, no, we didn't drop. We went up to 12,000, 13,000, and that was base camp, camp one. And that's 15.2, which is a little over 15.2 over the top of the pass. And he was about 14.7, 14.8. He was struggling. I mean, it's vertical, less
Yeah,
oxygen. Like your body doesn't, I mean, it is harder. It is just harder to move, exist
for
at
sure.
14,000 feet. So, um, but he did it, man. And it was kind of like we were at that point, and it was me just talking to him because he started getting more of a headache. And I said, well, here's the thing, man. The best thing I can do for you is to get you over this ridge, because then we go down. You have to get out of altitude. So if we go back to base camp, we're still at 13,000 feet. On the other side of this, we're going to drop to 9. Like we're going to get underneath the altitude zone that's really going to be helpful for you. So, and he, gutted it out, pushed through. We survived the rainstorms and the thunder and the fog, and it was yeah, it's just one of those like epic things. And one of the biggest learnings that I got was, right, so we're meeting all these people from different parts of the world, and it's really fun. It's really fun to meet people, different parts of the world, hear their perspectives, break bread together, right? There's something magical about like having a meal with somebody and just getting to know them and their story and stuff like that. So we sat on the trail. It was just me and Peyton. So there's most people get guides, right? They've got guides that will take them up into the wilderness, and it's professional and stuff like that. We did not. Um, and a couple of reasons. One is more of an adventure. Two, I'm very familiar with mountains, so that doesn't bother me. If you don't know what you're doing in the mountains, for sure, okay, take a guide. But that doesn't bother me. But then, and then there's a whole community of people, right? Like backpackers and trekkers from all over the world that they don't have guides either. A lot of them are like solos. So we met a guy from Wales and we met a guy from New Zealand, and they just showed up by themselves to the country, and they're just adventuring, right? They're having their own adventure. But as you get to these like camps, you start making friendships with people. And so we made friends with this guy from Wales, this guy from New Zealand, and we were hiking part of the trail together. And it was neat to watch these, and they're still young guys. I mean, they're like early 20s, right? But they're pouring into Peyton and just talking him up, and like encouraging him to keep going and that kind of thing. And it was neat because we hung out with them at one point, and then they were like, well, we're going to take off, because we were way slow. Me and Peyton were really slow compared to the rest of the group. And so they took off, and I was like, cool. Like, those are really cool guys. And then later in the day, we caught up to them. And then I think it was 3 days later, we were in Aguas Caliente, which is the little town below Machu Picchu. And they were just having pizza at this restaurant on the street. And we're walking by, like, Jason. And we come over and we talk to them. And a lot of those things happen. Or like this gal that we met from Spain on Wednesday, we saw her again, like on the mountain in Machu Picchu on Monday, right? And it's just kind of funny, right? One of those weird serendipity things. And so it got me thinking about and started to talk to Peyton about that. Like the journey of life is very similar to that, right? People come in and out of your life at different stages of the journey. Sometimes people are in your life and they're the ones that are helping you like grow, and they're pushing you and they're encouraging you. And sometimes you're going to meet people and you're like, nice guy, don't really jive, right? And then you're going to see them again in life, right? And it's either you have the intentionality of, hey, no, I want to do life, this season of life with this person intentionally, kind of like what we're doing on this podcast. Like we've been friends for a long time, but we
Right.
decided to step up our intentionality of like keeping in this relationship. And then kind of also the realization that after we left Josh and Caden and Emilio at the pizza joint that night, I'm like, just talking to Peyton, I'm like, hey, we're never going to see them again, like ever. Like the likelihood of us, like I don't know their phone numbers. I don't know them on Facebook. I don't know their last names. three random guys that we met in August Caliente, right, on the trek, but we shared an experience together that is kind of neat and unique. So rather than, it's kind of the adage, I don't know if it was Dr. Seuss or somebody, they said, don't be upset that it's over, but be glad that it happened, right? And so being able to like really embrace the moment and the time that you're with people in the time that you're with them, because it's all a gift, right? Like we can't take any of it for granted. Um, so it was kind of fun. It was that was one of my fun learnings that I had. But um,
That's
so
good,
there's one.
man.
The other thing that I kept thinking was because this whole transition thing into manhood, and I was like, man, okay, sixth graders are different animals than eighth graders. That are different animals than freshmen, and I was just like, man, I should pick Ray's brain and hear about like what does that look like? Like I'm sure you see it all the time. Like I'm guessing even this like you're saying, you got to see a lot of the kids from last year. I'm sure some of the kids, they were kids when they left and they come back and they're like man cubs or something, right? Like they're, you know what I mean? Like they're really transitioning into becoming their own. So holy cow, like what does that look like? And yeah,
Man. Well, I was just actually, you know, enjoying your story, and I can just imagine just, you know, just a wealth of experience that your son got from that, man. That's really cool. And yeah, thinking about just what you're saying too, like how, people coming in and out of your life, and some people you'll never see, and some people that are there for a season, and then some people that you build bonds for life, so it was a good it was a good story to and good insight to share, and helps me to kind of reflect a little bit. But you know going to what you're saying, and the question you asked about how it is with transitions with kids. So this will be my second year of being a middle school counselor, and my second year of seeing bright-eyed, bushy-tailed sixth graders come in. It's an interesting experience. There's certainly, God is good. God is good, man. Like there's just everybody's unique. Even though there's similarities, everybody's just different. Not only do I meet the like the sixth grade students, but like I said, we had parents come in too, and seeing the similarities of the parents and their kids, and the parents asking questions, and the kids asking similar questions, the dynamic of how kids play off their parents, and vice versa. Those are always interesting things to see, and it gives you kind of uh some information on. And I'll be honest, sometimes you're just like, well, I'll be talking to that parent a lot this year. You know what I mean? Like it's
just because they're needy.
yes,
Okay, yeah.
they're needy, and I think a major theme for the majority of sixth graders is there's a lot of anxiety, which is fine because
Hmm. Yeah.
they are going through a transition, right? Things are just going to be a little bit more different. It's a different building. They're meeting multiple teachers. Our hallways can get a little crowded, right? There's, we're cramming 500 kids in there. So close to 500, I would say. So, you know, um, kids, sixth graders, especially when they first come in, you know, they're learning new things. I think that's the thing with transition, right? With transition comes change. And you and I know that change is one of the hardest things for human beings to do. Whether you're a sixth grader, a high school freshman, or a 28-year-old, or a 44-year-old, right? Like whenever there's something new that comes into your life, and you experience it for the first time, there's a little bit of that doubt or anxiety, of what's to come. So Uh, I think what's fun about that, and kinda link it up to kinda your story, with your son, is that these kids, they're gonna they're gonna depend a lot on, the adults there, right, when they come in, and talking to parents, gaining building some rapport and gaining some trust with them for them to be like, "It's gonna be okay. Like, we've been here before, we've done that. I understand where you're coming from. This is your baby. I got kids of my own." And it's just that little bit of rapport and that common thread that we have. I mean,
Yeah.
having kids, it's amazing how parents just, like, um, they start to build that trust with you because, "Oh, you've been here, you've done that. I have. It's all good, and you can call me whenever you want to." Uh, and I would say maybe, like, 10 10 families, I I saw that immediate shift to where
Mm.
the kids were like, "Alright, I'm gonna go. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Sebastian." And the parents were like, I can tell they were still a little needy, but their kids were just like, "Okay, this guy's cool. I'm gonna come to this guy if I need anything." And, to see that shift all in the span of maybe, you know, 6, 7 minutes, and then the parents, like, you can see their relief on their, in their body language too, right? And that's what you want as a parent, right? And as a guide, like, so to speak. And so, uh, I that never gets old. And for me, it'll happen yearly for me. It's an annual thing, seeing that rite of passage going from elementary to middle school, and then to see them progress, right, to 7th graders and 8th graders. Speaking of, man, we had a lot of 8th graders that I'm like, "Why was a grown man walking to the building right now?" I was like, "What happened during summer, man?"
Yeah. That was the one
Deeper
that I would,
voice,
yeah. That's the one that I keep thinking of, like, that's gotta be weird. Like,
man. Um,
even honestly,
yeah,
your boys too. Like, whenever I saw it was a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Whoa, Ty's like he's like a he's like a man." Reese too. I mean, just hanging out, a couple months ago. I was like, "Man." And they're such cool. I mean, they're such cool guys, right? And it's they're not. Yes, they're still kids. I think we are all kids for and whatever. But also just that transition to like they're just a really cool human. They're stepping into their own like person, their own manhood, right? Their own like this is they're their own person, and you can tell, right? They just
yeah,
have that air about them, which is awesome, right? I think that's what we all want, right? Because I think it was interesting. So I guess segueing back to this trip, because I kept talking, because when I would talk to different people, like, why are you doing this with your kid? Why are you taking a 12-year-old to the mountains? And I was like, well, part of it is, in a lot of different cultures, there are those rites of passage where it's like, hey, you're going to, whether it's, you know, um, Native American tribes and people, boys would go on a vision quest, right? And they'd come back with a new name, or a bar mitzvah, or the quinceañera in Latin culture, right? There's so many different rites of passage, and in Anglo-Saxon America, there's not that. It's like you just are, and then I guess you just grow up. And maybe it's like 18, which I think is kind of dumb, or 21, because I think you've kind of missed the boat in a lot of things. It's like, okay, if you're not taking responsibility. So it was interesting because Peyton and I had some interesting conversations around that. Like, okay, what does it mean? What does it mean to be a man, right? Because I don't think it's necessarily age related. I've met people in their 50s and 60s. I'm like, I think you're still a kid. Like, I don't think you grow up. And part of it, and it sounds terrible. Part of it is, I think, is having kids yourself. And I think that there's something that happens when you have kids that there's not, no, there's nothing else that can be a substitute for that. And I'm not like ragging on people that, have fertility challenges or anything. Like, that's not it at all. It's more of the, like, I've got friends in my life that are in their 40s, and they intentionally have chosen, like, no, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to have kids because I don't want that responsibility. And I don't want to be tied down. It's like, okay, so you chose intentionally to be a kid your entire life, which is fine, but there is a different level of respect. So, for example, even in Peru, and we're staying at different like Airbnbs and hostels and stuff like that. And when I stay there, I'd go to a coffee shop or whatever, and it's parents and their kids. And then like I would have a great conversation with the dad or the mom, and they were like, "Okay, you're not just a trekker, right? You're a parent." And so, right, it's just like a different level of responsibility, and that translates universally, like across the world. And same thing with the kids. I was telling Peyton, like, you'd see little kids around, and they're like 3 or 5, and they're whiny and whatever. And I was like, it's so fun. Like, you go anywhere in the world, one thing is universal: kids are kids, right? Like, kids are kids, and they are fun, and they want to have fun, and they want you to be goofy with them, right? Like, it's just it's just universal, right? So anyway, it got me thinking about that. Like there isn't a whole lot of right. There isn't a lot of like rites of passage in the United States. And so I read a book years ago by a guy named John Eldridge. You ever read any of his stuff? He wrote one called Wild at Heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
been a while since I've read it, yeah, but I
Yeah.
remember that book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he wrote another one. I can't remember. It was either called Fathered by God or Way of the Wild Heart. I think it actually was both titles at one point. Um, but yeah, but basically that idea of like helping your boys transition to be men, right? And helping them through that. So I'm curious, like with all your, like you're saying, these eighth graders, that they come back and you're like, whoa, you're men. It's like, yeah, maybe physically, but maybe not like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like what, how have you seen, like even with your own boys, like how have you helped them grow up into that, right? Transition out of like, you're not just a boy anymore. Now you're stepping into manhood.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had like this, I wish I had a ceremony for them or to mark specific days. Um, but unfortunately I don't, right? You're talking about like America, you know, there's certain age markers where you're considered adult, and that's kind of maybe a an example of a rite of passage, and maybe even when you get your license. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You're behind the wheel of a a large potential projectile that's just whizzing through the road.
Now, total random, but kind of on
Yeah,
topic. Is
sure.
is that so? I'm seeing a lot here in Oregon that there's a lot of kids that don't even want their driver's license. Like it's kind of becoming
Wow.
a problem because they're 19 years old and they don't know how to drive because they have no desire to. So I don't know.
Mm.
Is that happening in Montana or?
I'm actually you saying that I'm actually blown away. Dude, I cannot wait to get my license. Bro.
I was blown away too because I think it was for me. It was like maximum freedom. It was just like sweet.
Absolutely.
I can get out and I can see the world. But I think it goes back
Yeah.
to other conversations we've had about like digital, right? There's so many like kids are so locked in like the digital world that they don't need to, like they don't have a desire to. And I think that part of it too is also the um, fear, right? And like, oh, well, kind of like we've talked about before, with different friends. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get hurt. Yeah, that's the point. Like you got to get out there and experience stuff. So anyway, good to hear. Good to hear that in Montana kids are still getting their license and it's alive and well and a thing. So, but yeah, I agree. That was definitely a rite of passage, if you will, for me. But
Oh, yeah. And it was for my son. I got pictures on my phone of when,
yeah,
he first got his license. He's got a big smile on his face, and we had to talk about it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a big thing when you have to get insured, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, that was a, kind of a rite of passage for him, and, you know, like I said, we had to give him the talk. Not just myself, but my wife as well. We had to set some rules and some boundaries about what he can and can't do, and yeah, I mean, it was, you know, for us, I think parents can look at it in a way where there's a little bit of relief for us because now that now we got another driver in the house, and you can take your brother to practices and
Right.
all that good stuff, which is nice. I also think in doing that, my youngest son also kind of sees that and the freedom that the little bit of freedom that comes with it, and the responsibilities that also come with it, right? With freedom, there's also responsibilities, and there's an expectation that mom and dad has when it comes with it. So it's kind of i- in a sense maybe built in, and we made it kind of a big deal. And now he takes driving serious. I think he got one speeding ticket, and and
As
you
one does.
know right. And as soon as he got it, he gave me a call and was just like, "Dad, sorry." I was, you know what I mean? Which is what I want my kid to do if he feels that he's done something wrong, right? I think I know my tendency was to hide,
Yeah.
but and I think that's what happens with a lot of human beings is that when we feel guilty or ashamed about something, that's our first reaction most of the time is to retract and to right to hide from them. But I thought that was a really cool thing that not the ticket, but for him to be uh for him to apologize and say, I know I'm better than this, and you know, and I'll work my way up to doing certain things so that I could show you I am responsible. And honestly, and I wanted to light him up as soon as he got home, man. But what can you do? You know what I mean? Like, uh, so I'm actually, and then, man, I'm kind of shocked a little bit too that you have kids that don't want to drive, that don't want their licenses to have that little bit of a freedom, and I get what you're
Lot.
saying.
It's not just a
Yeah,
couple, it's a lot. It's weird. I think it's weird, but
that is weird. That is
yeah.
weird. Man, I could not wait to get my license. And I had to take a driving test twice because man, I had it wasn't a thing back then, but I had pretty sure I would be right there with test anxiety. Test anxiety.
Right.
Man. So and not only that, but my dad made me earn my license, right? Like I had to get my grades need to be good. All those things were in place, right? Because that was my dad saw that as a rite of passage. You're going to be out there with a lot of other human beings, and you need to be safe and you need to be responsible, right? Right? So my 15-year-old is we need to get him going. Got him signed up for driver's ed, but it's quite a long list. We don't have that problem here in Montana. Kids want to do
Good.
that
Yeah.
quickly.
Nice.
Some if I was a driver's ed teacher or the dude doing the test, man, I'd be super hard. You need to cross the T's and dot the I's with me,
Yeah.
buddy. We're not just
Yep.
gonna go around the block.
Yeah.
We're going on the highway. I want to make sure because I'm on this road with you, pal.
Yep.
Some of the kids, man, oh boy, ugh,
Uh,
get a little crazy. Um, but you also asked me too, like, what are like my own personal rites of passage, and I guess I'll take it back to just this coaching thing that I'm doing with them. There's something about just sports in general that
mhm.
there's some rite of passage. Not everybody can play sports, right? Not everybody's built to play football. Right? Now, we have there may be some kids that may not see the field on in a game. Um but they come to practices, they're still part of the team, and I salute those kids, man. That they still gotta there's some physicality that they have to go
Still
through,
gotta
right?
show up.
They
Yeah.
still gotta show up, right? They
Yeah.
still gotta do it anyways. They still gotta take time out of their summer and come in and be out there in the hot sun. banging banging heads and tackling and all that stuff. So, there's kind of a rite of passage there, that's kind of built in, like physical aspects, right? And then like your freshman, your sophomore team, your JV, and then your varsities, right? There's um those transitions there that is involved with football. And a lot of times it's your playing time and your ascension into like that varsity level, it is tied to your work ethic and how hard you work, and not only physically, but now you also have to learn the plays. You have to know what you're
Yeah.
doing out there. Yeah, our coach is really, really big about, we can't put you, I don't care how good you are, we can't put you out there if you don't know what you're doing. Because not only that, right? If you don't know what you're doing, you're putting 10 other guys that are out there in compromising positions, right? You're not setting them up, you're letting them down. So again, there's also that rite of passage of learning how to be part of a team, um and doing your job, right? So others can succeed, right? Like it's just kind of cool how that's built into sports. Um yeah, my son, he's yeah, my 17-year-old, he's very aware of like my presence, because I have some credibility into what I'm saying, and I think that uh I think he thinks that's pretty cool, and
Yeah.
and to be able to ask, you know, my perspectives, but also for myself to remember that I'm still under authority. There's a We have a coach, a head coach that has, a specific style and what he wants to see. So even though I have this wealth of information and knowledge and experience, I still come under the coach, because at the end of the day, that it's his team, and I need him to model that for my son, to help him understand um that part of it. It's
Dude, that's super important. Yeah.
oh gosh, yeah. Being able to be coachable, not just from me, but by multiple people with that are put in your athletic journey to really follow and to help you out, is really key and important for his success. So yeah, I would say that's there's some rites of passage there kind of built in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. It's just interesting. It's gotten me thinking more and more. Um, I think the next one, because as I was on the ship, like I was saying, I'm like, he's very much 12 and very much still a boy. And so just, it was kind of like, it was nice in one sense, because like, oh, great. Like we can just be goofy and have fun, right? Like we can just be kids. But then it also got me thinking like that, like there's other pieces of that. So I think that me and Anna were talking about this. I think what we're thinking about doing is doing another trip at like 15, but this one is more about service. So like going and like we're going to go on a mission trip or something together. Like we're going to go work and serve and help other people. It's not about you, right? This trip was very much about Peyton, right? It was very much about like we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to go have fun. We're going to be goofy. Right. But then, kind of the 15, 16, somewhere in there, it's like, hey, we're going to go on a trip and it's about serving other people, because that's a big, big piece of life. Right. You realize like, hey, it's not about you. Uh, and so how do you give back and how do you do that well? And then we're thinking about like a trip at 18, but that's more just like now we're not peers, but it's like, okay, now you're on your own. Like your decisions that you're going to make for yourself. And so I can be here and I can be a guide still, but I think it's really important. I was listening to some psychologist and he was essentially talking about like during this phase of life, it's also the support that you put around them, right? And like the other influential voices in their mind, like we talking about like with coaches, right? So the fact that you probably like the coaches that you're coaching under, and it's another strong male influence authority figure in your son's lives that they can look up to, right? And in the same way, like, parents coming into middle school and they realize, like, okay, Mr. Sebastian's okay, like, okay, I'm okay, like, with my kids having influence from him, right, and from other teachers and things like that. Um, yeah, I can see how that would be super important. Um,
Right.
I don't know, just kind of something I've been thinking about. How do you
I
how do
think
you
that's
find
great,
it
man.
with kids and like boys specifically that I mean, obviously, because we both had good support systems growing up. We
Mhm.
had parents that loved us and kicked our butts, which is good. Um, and I think we're trying to do the same for our kids, but I'm sure there's a lot of kids that don't necessarily have that. So how do you help step in? And maybe that, yeah, and we talked about this too. Like they don't play football, right? Because there's some built-in things that you have to go through playing sports, right? That you're not going to get other places, right? And you have a coach or whomever. Even if you have a terrible home situation, there's so many times where a coach or a teacher is a substitute. They come in and they kind of like draw that out of you.
Yeah.
How do you find that with kids that don't have that, right? Are they just lost? Are they stuck? Like, and how do you help them re-engage and desire to like grow up? I don't know if I'm asking that well.
Mm. Like at the middle school level?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe
Or
even the high school level. Cause like you were saying like these eighth graders, like, is some of it is like, it's not all about you or is it do hard stuff or whatever?
yeah. My, uh our head coach, he made a comment yesterday during practice. He goes, "Boy, I love these freshmen." And that's my son's class, my youngest son Reese's class,
Okay.
um, as a coach, I don't blame him. Like that, like the freshman class that came in, they they are hard workers. Like they know they've won championships, right? They've won championships at the small fry level. And I think a lot of that was attributed to their coach. They had a really what was great about the story of that, just that was their success early on, uh, in football, was that their coach stepped up out of just like a need. Like there was just no coaches that were willing to coach, and she stepped up. And it was a mom that we were friends with, that our oldest son, and also Reese too. Like they have kids that 2 kids that are the same age as our boys,
Nice.
in the same class, and she ended up stepping up and coaching. And of course, in my head, I was like, "Oh, all right, this will be interesting." But boy, did she dig in and learn the game of football, whether it was flag football and then transitioning into, like, small fry tackle football. And sh she really had a high standard for working hard and for being a team and doing things together. And so that just like that year after year, kids saw the benefit of that, right? Winning championships, going to championships, right? Uh, and then, and then it just transitioned to the high school level for a lot of these kids. And then, man, even some kids that have done football for the first time and and was and experienced that high standard at a young level, that
Yeah.
that I see them. They're part of that freshman class. So, I think it's really important to have, whether, when we kinda talked about it, like people coming into your life, maybe for a season, maybe that you'll never see them again, and some of them, they become best friends, and then you have people that are just these mentors and coaches in your life that have leave these lasting impressions on you, right? And you take as you progress in life, right? So these freshmen, they have come into this high school year and have really impressed the high school coach with their work ethic, with their attitude about the game and working
Mhm.
hard. And and that was my comment back to him was, I think Juliet, who was their coach, I think Juliet had a high standard, and they learned a lot from their experience. And what so her natural transition, their old small fry coach, was now she's the high school flag football coach for the girls.
That's awesome.
What a great, like, when I saw her name, in my heart, I'm like, these girls got a fantastic coach, like, and just be ready to know what it means to, you know, to just work hard and have a good attitude while doing it. So it's really cool, man. Like, to see that, to see those things kind of in place, and to see people transition like that, and get on the bus and be in the right seats. I certainly think, and then like to go to watch it, right? I watched their game this last week, and they won. And it was really cool to see all those things like happening for people that you appreciate, that have been in your life for a long period of time, and to see them succeed is really cool. So, going back to why you're asking me about how do you help kids transition? And I think that's it, right? Just being in their life, whether it's in a school counselor capacity for me, or a coach, or a mentor, right? I think that those are key things, right? Someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself, someone who pushes you harder than you thought you could handle, and then like feeling that there's, sometimes when you get pushed, right, there can be tension, right? And sometimes you can like we can resent it a little bit, but then then you can look back and go, oh man, yeah, like they pushed me hard because like they believed in me, they saw the potential, and they wanted to get that out of me, and be the voice for me, uh because honestly, I was a 14-year-old, and I just wanted to be lazy, and I just wanted to play Nintendo and PlayStation. But, you know, I get a phone call and say, "Where are you? Why are you not lifting? Why," you know what I mean? Replace those words with, why do you not want to get better?
Mm.
Is that going
That's a
to
hard
is,
question.
is right? Why are you not here? How come you're not here lifting? Right? That's him saying, "Gosh, I sure miss you. Where are you, man? I thought this was your thing. I thought this is what you wanted to do." So, right, that goes into how I counsel kids when they come into my office, right? And a lot of that is building rapport, and to learn, right? I think that's a big thing when it comes to coaches or mentors, is to building those relationships with people, to where you can they allow you to speak in their lives, so that you can push them in certain areas, and when to push them, and how to push them, and when to ease back, and when to just reflect, right? uh, I, when you talked about, there's this transition in life, especially, man, parenting for me, that was a rite of passage for me, right? That's a mantle that I honestly, I don't know. I didn't know if I was ready, to become a parent, right? I was, boy, when you were talking about people that age but no wisdom, right? Age came alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that was me before I had kids. Yeah, I was playing a lot of video games, and wasn't very intentional with life. so to speak. I was just a ham and egger, man. I just go to work and do my thing, uh, and honestly, and I don't even like. I'm kind of embarrassed saying this, but I know that we all have growing pains. But like, I just kind of just eke through life a little bit at that point, right? And and to say that I wasn't anxious about bringing a child into the world, right? A human being, and um, and now having to, you know, essentially grow up, right? I could feel it. I could feel the pull of childhood and adulthood when when August 3rd rolled around 2008 in the hospital. I could see my life starting to, like, oh, I see it. This has to be the past now, because I have a responsibility, um and I want to make sure that I do it. So, man, and then so August 4th, when my first son came, and I held him in my hands for the first time, right? Like, you just feel this shift that it's hard to explain, but in that moment, like, childhood ended for me,
Yeah.
right? Even though I was still playing, I still played some video games, and still did childish things. It was uncomfortable for me now to
Yeah.
just
Right.
zone out and not do anything, right? And not be with my kids, right? It wasn't, because life was no longer about me. It was about this tiny life that's depending on me, right? And sleepless nights and the worries, the sacrifices, like all of it, right? It just helped reshape me as a man, and as a husband, as a dad. And boy, I remember you kind of, you didn't have all the answers at the time. It's my wife and I, that too, right? In the struggles and those late nights, and feeling like zombies sometimes. My wife
Yeah.
had to do most of the work. I just had to get up, grab the kid, and be like, "Here you go, babe."
Yeah.
Um, but it was still right. We both had to do it together, and it drew us closer together, right? Yeah, we really had to be a team. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
It's interesting
Uh,
because I don't know about for you, but it feels like even right now in this stage as Peyton's growing up and Torin too, it that it kind of like it keeps like upping the ante for me too. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, at least when they're 3 or 2, like you can be like, all right, they're fed, they're asleep, good, right? But now it's like, okay, now that they're watching the actions, like even the stuff we were talking about before, like you coming under the authority of another coach, even though you probably have more experience, you probably have more accolades than this other coach does, right? But you submitting yourself to like, yeah, but it's his team, it's his system, so I'm going to take my knowledge and I'm going to help adapt it for him, right? And I'm
yeah.
going to prop him up, right? I want him to win because if he wins as the coach, we all win. And so yeah, seeing those things as well, and having those relationships and things. Yeah, as my boys are watching me grow up as well, 'cause there's one point on this trip where I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm in a third world country with my son who's 12 and we're on our own, kind of like but kind of like, again, up the ante for me too. It's like, oh yeah, but I also need to show my kids like it's okay to be adventurous and to take
Mhm.
risks and to do things that most people are not willing to do. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Kind
know.
of like that child, still having, not being childish, but being childlike now, like
Mm,
having that childlike faith,
yeah.
childlike adventure, right? I love still being a boy with my boys.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like, there's nothing more satisfying as a dad than to just be with my boys, whether it's telling me a joke, or like, they're showing me like there's a video and be like, "Dad, what do you think?" And we're both cracking up because
Yeah,
I've experienced that before. Oh yeah, right. And recalling even my own youth, at that time, like, wow, we're really not that different.
Yeah.
It may just it may look different, but like just like the common thread, we're still like, wow, you are my son. Like
Mhm.
you're both my children. Holy smokes. Yeah, it's cool, man. Cool to hear um the very words that I speak into my kids come out of my kids' mouth. And right, and I think that that's probably another thing too for me, was to make sure not only do I model, but I say things that are good, that are praiseworthy, right? Um, that are true, that are beautiful, right? Like the word says, right? Keep your mind on these things and focus on them. And so, uh, I my so I had kids too, right? June 6, 2011, right? I tell that story. Really, that was a big turning point in also in my parenthood, in my parenting, right? And I truly believe, the verse that when it says that, you are truly a new creation. You're recreated, right? Like my whole perspective changed in parenting as well, right? I stopped cussing, right? I was a football player, bro. I talked a lot of stuff, and so uh, and it was maybe every other word I was cussing, and now you have, like I said, now it's do I does this still come out every once in a while? Yes, but boy, I'm I feel yucky about it. It just doesn't feel good to me anymore. So, and a lot of that is just what I'm modeling for my kids for sure. I want them to say things that are good and beneficial. So yeah, I think I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, just leaving leaving childhood and childish things, and being able to be childlike with my boys uh is truly a joy to have in life, and I hope that a lot of dads get to, and I'm sure they do, and I'm sure you do as well, right? You just shared that you still have childlike adventures with your kids, whether it's in Machu Picchu or, you know, outside kicking the soccer ball around.